Welcome to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen, for your Cabarrus County Republican Party. As always, I am Abdul Ali. And for my man G Mills behind the camera and our entire Cabarrus County Republican Party, we want to thank everybody that takes the time to view this content. Make sure you're sharing it with your friends and family. As always, your office is here at 96 McGill Avenue in Concord. We're open every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. So you can come down here and get your Trump swag, get your Richard Hudson gears. You can see I'm rocking my Richard Hudson. Go Richard. And then also today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a very special guest. Your Cabarrus County Sheriff Van Shaw is going to be joining us to talk a little bit about what's going on here in Cabarrus County. So before we jump into that, let's go ahead and get you your Cabarrus County calendar. Here is your Cabarrus County calendar. On Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m., Kannapolis City Council will meet. Remember, early voting is going on now through October 31st. And of course, good old election day is on November 3rd. This is your Cabarrus County calendar. Welcome back to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am Abdul Ali, and as promised, we are here with your Cabarrus County Sheriff Van Shaw. Welcome to Ground Game, Sheriff.
Thank you so much, Abdul. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Now, I know this is a mouthful, so I'm going to get it. I really have to read this off. So you serve with our good friend Dr. Baker on the House Select Committee on Community Relations, Law Enforcement, and Justice. And I think it's important we had Dr. Baker mention it, but tell the folks what you're doing on that committee.
The goal of the committee is to come up with legislative suggestions as it relates to law enforcement and justice and community relations. So we're looking at everything from policy, procedure, to certification requirements, community programs, justice reform, to bring those items before the committee to discuss them and to finalize that hopefully before the end of the year with some recommendations to the legislature.
One of the things you touched on as we were getting ready for the show is the fact that a lot of the reforms that folks are pushing for these days are things that our sheriff's office and many of the police departments in our municipalities have already been doing. Like you mentioned something about chokeholds and continuous training. Tell folks a little bit about some of that stuff as it relates to things you guys have been doing since you've been sheriff and how that impacts these recommendations you're going to send out.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot. Many people have heard of different things in the media as it relates to law enforcement policy. One example might be a policy or a duty to intervene and render aid. We've had those policies in place, as well as bans on chokeholds. We've had that in place as well as law enforcement. And we've discussed a number of things. We've actually, at the sheriff's office, we started back in 2019 reviewing all our departmental policies and making sure that they're in line with community standards, the law enforcement profession, that we're ensuring that folks can trust their law enforcement agencies, that they have confidence in the job that the men and women in law enforcement are doing, and that we're meeting that high standard that the community holds us to.
I think that is an amazing thing. And I know a lot of the folks may be surprised to hear that those are policies you guys have already had in place pre-George Floyd, pre all of that stuff. So I think that's really important. One of the things that's come up in recent days, and we've talked about this a little bit on this show, is about the whole idea of defunding the police. Mm-hmm. And to some, that means completely defunding the police, like abolishing. But to more people, that means taking funding from one place, from the police, and putting it into other community programs. And from what I understand, we've been doing a lot of that community outreach here in the county. So I think it would be great if you could talk a little bit about some of the things you guys do at a community level that, may be something they're talking about, people who don't know any different, and say, well, we're not doing that. Well, we may well be doing that. Right. So I think it'd be good if you talked a little bit about some of the community efforts the Sheriff's Department's taken on since you've been there.
Oh, absolutely. We certainly, one of the foundations is community events, getting officers out, meeting with community members, having a conversation, discussing those issues. So we just recently had our National Night Out. At the arena, we did a drive-through event this time and had over 600 people come out and have those opportunities to talk, allow them a little opportunity to see what equipment we have. But more important than anything is to engage with a law enforcement officer have their questions answered. We've also done some community events like in the community of Fishertown in Cabarrus County, where we're out giving out school supplies, masks, again, answering questions, talking, engaging, developing relationships. We've got one coming up this weekend, as a matter of fact, in Mount Pleasant, where we'll be doing the same thing. It's important to be in touch with the community. That makes a difference. Other areas, when they are talking about defunding the police, is making sure that law enforcement is responding to those things that we should be. So in the area of like individuals that might be suffering from a mental health issue, I serve on the mental health task force here in Cabarrus County. We train our officers in critical incident training, which helps them identify those that might be having some type of crisis as it relates to mental health. Not that it's in an ideal situation, you'd want to get a mental health professional there as quickly as possible. And we have those programs in place, mobile crisis units that come when called by law enforcement. We've had meetings to explore expanding that, maybe putting our community paramedic program through Cabarrus County EMS more involved in the mental health aspect as well. I think anytime we can bring those professionals to the scene to help avoid incarceration is what we want to do. We also have a number of programs in our detention center, Stepping Up is one of them, and where we're identifying individuals coming into our detention center that may suffer from a mental illness or a substance use problem. And we're trying to get them help once they're in the detention facility so that they can be successful once they're released. And hopefully we keep that return rate down is our goal. So we're doing a number of different programs there to also try and help folks get that leg up that they need, not to return to our detention facility, because the best jail out there is one that's empty.
That's right. And I think one of the things that, and I hope viewers of this will take away from this, and I've heard many law enforcement officers across the state say this, is you guys don't take pleasure in locking people up when there's obvious mental health issues. You know, we would rather get those folks the help they need. So it's great to know here in Cabarrus County, you guys are working on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Sheriff Shaw and talk a little bit more about some things here in Cabarrus County. We'll be right back on Ground Game.
Jim O'Neill, proven prosecutor, keeping us safe. The highest conviction rate for sexual assault crimes in North Carolina's urban counties. Jim O'Neill, a tough prosecutor who will work with President Trump to keep us safe. Jim O'Neill, conservative for Attorney General.
Welcome back to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen. We are still here with Sheriff Van Shaw. And as you have to be living under a rock to not know that, you know, we've seen a lot of events across the country, marches and vigils and things like that. And we've even had some of those events here in Cabarrus County. But I think there's some special things about Cabarrus County events that you highlighted. Talk a little bit about what you guys have seen at the Sheriff's Department in light of these events, you know, in support of racial equity and things like that.
Well, we've had a number of events across the county. The good news is that through a lot of coordination with different groups coming together, talking about putting these events together, they've been very peaceful. I'm proud to say we've not had to affect a single arrest, and we don't necessarily see that across the country. But I really believe because of the relationship that our law enforcement agencies, Concord, Kannapolis, and the Sheriff's Office have with the community, we're able to work jointly to allow folks to express their feelings, express their concerns, be heard, and do it safely and in a positive manner that doesn't include protesting or property damage or arrest. So it's been good to see folks expressing their views, but doing it in a way that's respectful to everyone.
And that speaks volumes, I think, to the level of relationship that you guys have not only tried to develop with the police departments, but with the public at large. And I think that's a huge credit to leadership in our Sheriff's Department on your behalf. One of the things that I think is also important, and I'm a big fan of people being able to exercise their rights, right? And I think that if people have a problem, they should know that leadership is open to hearing those concerns and issues. So what would you say the method of, I hate to say filing a complaint, but if somebody has an issue or something they don't feel comfortable, talking to anybody about, how would they go about getting that information to you at the Sheriff's Department?
Well, they could certainly come by in person and ask to speak with me or my chief deputy. They can also call, and we'll set up a time for them to come in and talk with us. They certainly can do it anonymously as well. We give the same amount of credibility to an anonymous complaint as we do as someone walking in. We want to make sure that we're being transparent, we're addressing any issues that we may have, and that we're responding back to them to let them know what we've done and how we've handled that particular situation.
Absolutely. Well, one last question for you, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this offline, but when you're driving around in your sheriff's truck all day, right? I don't know, do you drive a marked or an unmarked one?
Unmarked.
Okay, so he drives around in an unmarked. That means do the speed limit, right? So what do you listen to driving around in your truck all day? What do you listen to?
Quite frankly, I listen to a lot of talk radio, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I try to balance it out. I listen to NPR as well because I want to hear it all. When I just need to relax, I listen to a little country music while I'm going down the road.
I figured the sheriff was a country music guy.
Along with the sheriff's office radio going as well.
All right, there you go. Make sure he has that on. So he's listening, deputies. He knows what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by your Cabarrus County Sheriff, Van Shaw. Can't thank you enough for coming by Ground Game. Ladies and gentlemen, do remember, if you have concerns, we're going to have the Cabarrus County Sheriff's Office information up there on the screen for you. If you have any questions, also visit cabarrus.gop. Make sure you're getting our newsletter. We're going to be right back on the tail end of Ground Game.
The radical left that supports my opponent wants to defund the police. As Lieutenant Governor, I'll make sure that doesn't happen and that we stand strong for law and order. I'm Mark Robinson. Vote on November 3rd.
Welcome back to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen. As always, we cannot thank you guys enough for sticking with us through this episode, and we want to give a special thank you to Sheriff Van Shaw for coming on to talk with us a little bit today. I know I can speak for our entire party when I say thank you to not only our Sheriff's Department, but all of our law enforcement officers and first responders here in Cabarrus County. We've got one more episode left until Election Day, so make sure you're sharing this content with friends and family, and make sure you're going to cabarrus.gop to sign up for the newsletter. We're going to have plenty of stuff going on after the election here in Cabarrus County, so stay tuned for that. Again, on behalf of your Cabarrus County Republican Party, I'm Abdul Ali, and this is Ground Game. We'll see you next time.